so much for joining Earth Day 365 for our Homegrown Series. My name is Victoria Donaldson. I am the Program Manager for the Green Dining Alliance, which is a program of Earth Day 365. We have today Simiya of Tha Muthaship, and they will be talking about their program and just about their general work as a practitioner and really just a great human being. But before we get started, I want to thank you all for being here, and of course, thank our sponsors, the Jefferson. Oh God, oh God, I'm blanking out on my name. Sorry. First, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, the Solid Waste Management. Thank you, St. Louis Jefferson Solid Waste Management Department, and of course, you all. Thank you for being here. So with that, let me introduce Simiya. Simiya is a mother, wellness practitioner, visual and social practice-based artist with a background in sculpture and landscape architecture that is passionate about plants, sustainable and ecological design, access to healthy foods, holistic nutrition, and wellness. Simiya is combining her practice as an artist with her passions, education, and experience as a doula, body worker, yoga, and meditation teacher to create the Muthaship Mobile Wellness Studio and Urban Farm in St. Louis, Missouri. So without further ado, I pass the mic to Simiya. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Victoria. I am going to take a moment to share my screen. And if you all just let me know if there's any issues with the screen, that sort of thing. If my voice goes out, just let me know because I have these earbuds on. But thank you all so much for having me. I am really excited to talk about my practice and my ongoing projects that I have that are a combination of my work as a wellness practitioner and as a visual artist. So I'm just going to start off. This is my logo for my Muthaship project, and I believe that this logo really does a good job of encapsulating my practice and who I am and what I'm aiming to bring forth with this project. So we see these hands. This is in the shape of Yoni Mudra and yoga. So I have been teaching yoga for 4 years now. And a lot of the meditation and yogic philosophy that I've studied over the past couple of years, I've been practicing yoga for a long time, but actually been a teacher for 4 years, really influenced me to kind of get into this path of wellness and healing. And we see that the nails on these hands are red. To me, that represents divine feminine and femme energy, blood, which is like our ancestral blood, which is what motivates me to do this work as well. And then the cosmic stars are just representing the expansiveness of the universe and all of the wonderful things in creation on Earth that I feel so inspired by. And then lastly, you see these little tiny microgreens. I love microgreens. I'm a microgreens grower and eater, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So this is my logo for my Muthaship Wellness Studio and project business. I do see there's something in the chat. Y'all can feel free to say something to me. Okay, thank you, appreciate it. I'll also look at the chat so I can comment. So yeah, I'm totally open to having like more of a conversation with folks. If folks end up joining the conversation, I'm open to that as well. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of keep going as a presentation style. So something about me, I love flowers. I love sunflowers every year. I grow as many sunflowers as I can. And this year, this is actually yesterday. So this is one of the sunflowers that I grew this year. They just bring me so much joy, and I feel that you can find so much detail and intricacy in just the patterns of the sunflower, the color, the texture, and even like the way that the seeds are beginning to grow in the center there is just so interesting to me. So this is just some beauty and something that I grew this year. So just to kind of tell you a little bit more about me and what motivates me and about my practice. My name is Simiya. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. I'm the founder of Tha Muthaship. I am a wellness practitioner, a social practice and visual artist. And if you want to follow along and learn more about me and my practices, I've got some information here. My website for my wellness practice is sagemoondoula.com. For my visual art and social practice portfolio, it's spiritscapes.life. And on Instagram, you can follow my growing work, Tha Muthaship, as well as the collaborative farm work that I will talk about a little bit later. That page is called AfroFutures Farming on Instagram. So lots of projects in the works. Social media is the best place to kind of catch me and see what I'm working on in real time. In this photo on the left, there is this funky little picture of something. This is called a, oh, let me go back. This is called a SCOBY. I am a kombucha brewer, and I've been experimenting with brewing my own kombucha over the last year, and it's really fun, and I really like the SCOBYs, and they're so beautiful, and so I took this photo. And I thought this looked so interesting, and it almost looks kind of cosmic. I took it outside, and that's just the SCOBY that I was getting ready to compost. I think I was actually feeding this one to my chickens. And underneath is just some soil, but it just looked very galactic, and I thought it was such a cool photo. So that's also gives you a little bit of a glimpse more into me and my practice. And just to keep going on that, so I mentioned that I'm a wellness practitioner. I have several wellness credentials. I'm a licensed massage therapist in the state of Missouri, an Usui Reiki master. Reiki is an energy healing system that originated in Japan by Dr. Usui. I'm a full spectrum doula. I have been practicing doula care for 6 years. I'm taking a break right now to focus on my projects. And I am a yoga and mindfulness educator. I am registered at the prenatal level as well as the more general level as a 200-hour yoga instructor. There's lots of different types of yoga teachers out there. This is just what I do. So I really focus on mindfulness, breath work. I teach prenatal yoga and I teach yoga to youth as well. And I'm also, my practice has gone more into public healing sessions. This is an image from a healing session that I did back in 2017, I believe, at the Pulitzer. They also invited me to do a wellness sound healing video that you can catch for free on YouTube. If you just look up Pulitzer, the Pulitzer's page on YouTube, and it's a wellness series. So this is a part of my wellness practice, and I combine my wellness practice with my visual art practice to do a lot of the things I'm going to talk about in a minute. So yeah, I've been in this wellness work for about 6 years, and it's taken on many forms. A lot of these modalities and practices have influenced each other, and studying yoga has made me a better doula. Becoming a massage therapist made me a better doula. Being a doula made me a better massage therapist. So a lot of these things go hand in hand. So alongside my wellness work, I am traditionally trained as an artist. I went to art school, and a lot of my artwork is influenced by this work I do as a wellness practitioner. So I'm sure many of you are fans of Earth Dance Farms here in St. Louis. I collaborated with Earth Dance Farms and Yoga Buzz, where I actually became a yoga teacher. And we created this living yoga studio project. Now the space is no longer being used as a yoga studio, but this was a really cool chance to transform a underutilized space in one of the greenhouses and turn it into a space where folks could come in and practice yoga. That involved a lot of work with volunteers, cleaning out the space, prepping the land. It was kind of compressed because there were some tractors and some other things in there. And then choosing this beautiful paint color, as well as some plants that would stand up to people walking on it, putting yoga mats on it. So my job was to kind of design this project and come up with the plant selection, the paint color, help organize some of the volunteers. And for the flooring, we chose some herbs, that were pretty resilient, as well as things that could possibly be utilized as produce that could be sold. So I think we picked some strawberries, some thyme, as well as red clover. So that was a really interesting project. It's a really cool way for me to combine my love for yoga as well as my formal training as an artist to create something on this scale. A lot of folks help with this. The farm workers, the coordinators there had a lot to do with this. I was pulled in via Yoga Buzz, and I really enjoyed the bit of work that I did on this project. And I wanted to share this project with you all because I really feel like this is a good representation of my practice. Art, wellness, plants, color. To me, I feel like this is like an installation art project as well as a space that can be occupied. So this is a great representation of some of the things I'm really interested in my art practice. All right, let's keep moving. All right, so we're gonna kind of get more into the business side of the mothership. So something that I do is I grow and sell microgreens. I picked microgreens as like an experiment. I really heard a lot about how quickly they grow and how nutritious they are. I've been on the vegan, vegetarian, holistic, gluten-free, everything healthy bandwagon since I was a teenager. So I'm pretty experimental when it comes to food. And during the pandemic, I think all of us really started to think about, where's my food coming from? I want to make sure I can keep my health up. I also want to make sure I have access to something fresh in case I can't really get to the store. And this is where the microgreen experimentation really came in. So these are sunflower microgreens. The beautiful thing about microgreens is a lot of them take like 10 to 14 days to grow. They're highly nutritious. They're very tasty. I literally, I grow them to sell them, but I also eat them. I go outside, I snip a couple off, I put them on a sandwich, put them in salads. They're just absolutely great. I put them in smoothies. And this is just a great way for people to get highly nutritious food that is fresh and it can be grown in a minimal space. And I'm just going to show some close-up pictures of these microgreens because they're just absolutely beautiful. These are peas. The last one were sunflowers. The peas are my favorite. They have a really great sweet taste. I eat these more like in salads or on sandwiches and stuff like that. Some of the other microgreens that I grow, like buckwheat, I've put in smoothies. So they're very versatile. Some people cook with them, and they're just absolutely amazing. So I think this is a great project for children to be involved in, great way to get kids to eat things as well. And it's just a really cool way to grow and eat food. And this is a salad mix. So they're just so beautiful up close. It looks very detailed. Just being around the microgreens is really a joy for me, in addition to eating them and selling them and sharing them with people. I think this is the last microgreen slide. Okay. And then I really also enjoy edible flowers. I enjoy herbs. I enjoy growing and sharing the healing aspects of food, which also ties into my practice as a wellness practitioner. I believe that healing and wellness is not a luxury. This is not something for people who live in a certain income bracket or a certain neighborhood. I believe we have the right to healthy food. And for me, as a self-identified Black woman, I think that my visibility in my practice and sharing this work and growing this type of food has made people within my community or in communities that are similar to mine feel more comfortable trying these things. For example, in this bowl, there's nasturtium, which is an edible salad, edible flower, excuse me. And it has like a peppery taste. I'm sure some of the folks watching this have tried nasturtium. It's one of my favorite edible flowers. It's beautiful. But when I go and visit my doula clients or a wellness client, if I have extra things from my garden at home, I always bring something with me. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I visited with a doula client. I brought her some kale and I brought her some edible flowers to my garden. with my work as a doula, as a birth worker, I talk to clients about how important it is to eat well, to eat healthy food, and to keep their body filled with health in many different ways. So I share what I have growing so I can expose my clients and the people that I work with to the things that I'm always telling them about. And often people are like, how do you eat this? What do you do with this? So I bring more than one thing, and I really, do my best to share stuff with people in a way that they can feel comfortable, like utilizing these ingredients on their own. So this is just some microgreens that I gathered to create a salad, and I put that in the sternum on top, and it's just absolutely so beautiful, and it makes me happy. I think beauty is also a part of wellness, and eating beautiful food is very healing as well. All right. So let's move on to the next part of this. So in my personal practice, I'm a wellness practitioner, I'm an artist, and this is something that I worked on as a project in grad school, that's something that I'm working on now as the mobile wellness studio part. So a part of this, the Mothership, is to create a mobile wellness studio. For me, it's going to be like an empty type space, a mobile meditation studio out of an older trailer that I purchased. It's a 1970s travel trailer. And this project stemmed from a grad school idea, and it really stuck with me. And my goal is to have this trailer done by the end of the year or the beginning of next year. And it'll be a pop-up space where I can hold a small meditation sessions, giving folks a quiet space to just chill, vibe out, and try something new. And this is also a part of my thoughts about wellness being accessible and kind of demystifying meditation and destigmatizing, or just, opening up these practices to people who have been told through marketing or whatever that meditation and yoga is not for them, and only a certain type of person practices these modalities. So it's a work in progress, and that's the mobile wellness studio part. So this is a drawing from maybe 2018 that has come into a real life project that I'm working on. So the best space to follow along with this project is on my Instagram page. And like I mentioned, I'm hoping that this will be something that I can finish by the end of the year and have it out in the community doing some interesting things. And this will lead me into the farming aspect of it. So I am the Mothership, but I'm collaborating with another woman of color named Dale Chambers, and we are combining our forces to share a space that we are calling the AfroFutures Farm Collaborative. So Dale and I are both wellness practitioners and artists, and we're both really interested in this space in the Greaterville neighborhood. We had seen it for years, and we thought, hey, let's go after this space and let's create a collaborative farm. So within this space, we're going to work together to share resources and transform a two city lot space into an urban farm. So that's where my Mothership space will be. That's where Dale's new mobile healing space will be. And together it is the AfroFutures Farm Collaborative. It makes sense to share space. It makes sense to share resources. And it's a big space, and I think it's quite huge for one person. So I think it was a great natural collaboration. So within that space, we both plan to grow things like herbs, vegetables, flowers. I'll be having space for my microgreens there as well. And it's just a space for us to live out our business practices as well as our art practices, and have some educational components for the community, which I'll share in a couple of slides from now. So like I mentioned, this project is in progress. We have been developing this farm since about November of last year is when we really put the pedal to the metal. And we had a lot of great energy getting started, and we hit some really major roadblocks with demolitions. So this is an urban farm in North St. Louis in the Greaterville, and we are surrounded by a lot of vacancy. And around New Year's, the neighborhood around the farm had, I would say, at least 4 simultaneous demolitions in which a lot of dust was created. We had many concerns about lead or other possible contaminants getting into the soil, as well as the impact of the high dust that was being created in the community and the air in that moment. So we share a lot on social media about our projects, and we had an opportunity to talk about what was happening with our space on St. Louis Public Radio. So we had a podcast episode on the first episode of this season for We Live Here podcast. And you're welcome to check that out. It's a great podcast in general. They talk about environmental racism, ecological issues, and a lot of local St. Louis issues, and it's a wonderful podcast. So I invite you all to check that out and just kind of hear, what our plans are, as well as what we were experiencing in that time. So because of this, we got the soil tested. It took a really long time. One soil test got lost, then we had to test it again, but thankfully the soil is fine. So we were doing a lot of waiting to get the soil tests back before we move forward in planting in our space. And I got those tests back, I think, a week and a half ago. Everything's good. So November to now, what is now, June? So it took that long. So yeah, these projects these are long-term projects that require a lot of energy and a lot of belief. Because if you told me that I would not be growing in that space by now, I'm not sure how I would, I wouldn't have felt so happy about that. So this has been a big project for us, and we really believe in what we're doing, and we hope to create something really unique in St. Louis that combines art, wellness, organic farming, permaculture, and a lot of beautiful things that we need in St. Louis. And this is the space when we first got it. So this is the site. The cardboard is there to cover up the grass so it's not litter. So this is in the winter time. It's 2 city lots put together. It's a big space, a beautiful space. It was an urban farm. And, we're gonna be working on the urban farm, making it back into an urban farm. So we're really looking forward to growing within this space. The rest of this year is really still going to be preparation time, getting everything laid out. And then I believe, hopefully we'll maybe be able to do some fall crops. If not, next year, we'll be able to hit the ground running because we're getting all the kind of kinks out of the system now. And there's a lot of things that come up with urban farming that you don't know about until you try. And then, just to share a little bit more about me and Dale, we both have farming in our lineage. My family, my grandmother, my grandfather, they were actually sharecroppers in Arkansas. I've always loved plants. Dale has a lot of planting and farming lineage in her family as well. So it's just been a natural progression as artists who are both very invested in social change, as well as justice in general, environmental justice, social justice, etc. And so within our farm space, we are going to be growing things, but we also know that we need to have things for the community, and we also need to have educational components and really let people know what are we doing here, and bring something that the community can also benefit from. So this is our little free library. I'm sure you all have seen those all throughout St. Louis and other parts of the world. We received, I applied for an impact library because, I've heard a few people say negative things about little free libraries, which I don't understand how you don't like a library, but the little free libraries are in place where many neighborhoods don't have libraries or access to libraries within walking distance or even driving distance. So this area in the Greater Ville, we do not have a library nearby. So we applied for this impact library where they gave us this library for free for our site, and we fill it with books on a regular basis. So the nearest library, I don't know where the nearest library is off the top of my head, but it's some miles away in a way that it is not accessible for most people in the community to get to a library. And we all know how much books and literature and information is power. So this is a small library, but we've installed this, I believe, is back in February, and we've made a big change. I believe we have distributed over 100 books. Most of them have been donation books. When we got the library, we got a big box of books that came with it. I always ask for more books on social media. Someone dropped off 2 IKEA bags worth of books at my home. We put in pregnancy books, cookbooks. You see the person in the picture on the right is looking at a meditation book that we put in there. So we're giving people fiction books, coloring books. We even put in information about native plants and bees, some flyers in the library as well. So we're giving out books that are gonna help people like ease their mind, but also empower folks with information. So this is a small component, but I believe it's making a big change, and it's hard to keep it full, which is great. So this is a big part of our educational component and a way in which we want to have an impact in the community. Another aspect is the perimeter of the farm is an educational garden. And we're planning to have a lot of elements there. So on the left, you'll see an edible fruit tree. Dale has planted several fruit trees around the exterior of the site, as well as the interior. There are cherry trees and other native trees. And then also we are planning to have flowers, herbs, and we want this to really be pollinator habitat as well as educational material. We'll plan to label these items so people know exactly what they're looking at. And somebody might see like, okay, what is nettles? What is echinacea? What is lemon balm? And hopefully that sparks an interest in herbs, and then you can get an interest in herbal medicine, and then you really realize how easy these things are to grow. On the right is a project that I am working on installing around that space within the educational garden. I'm working on installing urban pollinator homes alongside that habitat, and this is just a snapshot of one of the native beehives that I installed 2 weeks ago. There's 2 of them side by side, and I plan to create native beehives out of clay and place those around the perimeter of the site. So now when people see stuff like this, like, ooh, beehives, some people get really scared. Native bees can range from the size of your fingernail or smaller to bigger. And within that little free library, there are some pamphlets about pollinators and native bees and how important bees are to our ecosystem and our food production. So these are just some of the ways that we're fostering education and information while we work on our farm within the fence. So within the fence, you know, is the farm. Outside of the fence, there is educational materials. There is also going to be beauty and joy for people to experience. And then this is just to wrap up this portion of it. People always asking, like, how can we help you? Like, what can we do? We have some needs. We need cardboard. The cardboard is really great for smashing the weeds down when we're putting mulch down and we're putting down our new soil. If people have native plant starts that they'd like to donate for our educational garden around the perimeter of the site. And we're always looking for books for the free library. Sometimes they're slower than others. Other times, you know, the library is empty and we can fill it up pretty quickly. So those are always ongoing things that we would, you know, we'd love to have for the community components of the space. And if you all are wanting to follow up and check out what's going on with us, my personal page is Tha Muthaship. It's Tha_Muthaship. And our collaborative page is AfroFutures Farming on Instagram. And I'll go back just a little bit. yes, and these are my websites and things like that. So yeah, there's so many projects in the works. The farm and the mobile wellness studio are long-term ongoing projects. But with my things that I grow right now, like my microgreens, you can find those at Marsh, which is a great cooperative space on South Broadway in the city. I'm going to be having the microgreens in the store when that opens up. And I usually just do delivery for folks like who are want to order them. And it's a great way for us to have conversations and things like that. Oh, well, so I'm wondering about a time check-in and if folks want to ask questions or if there's anything that people want me to elaborate on. And I can also stop sharing my screen if that's more helpful.
Whatever works for you. That was a really good presentation, and I'm glad that you did that because you really reflected on all the work that you do, and also the through line of the work that you do and how it connects, even if it's like, again, the spectrum of sound art to gardening. And to me, that's amazing to see, again, the connections that you've made and the work that you do. So I have a few questions, and with that said, what I just said, do you find it easier to balance like these different practices because there is a connecting factor through all of them?
Yeah, I think like, in terms of like being an artist, I think a lot of artists, like they pull from something else they're really interested in or like another lifetime that they had, like that influences them. I've always been an artist. I even view farming as art because, with the design of the space, that needs to be designed. Just for me, it's just a part of who I am. I think artistically in terms of just everything. And yeah, I think wellness, art, all of this stuff goes hand in hand. To me, the wellness is my topic of interest for my art making. What am I supposed to do when it's not farming season? Like I need something to do. So that's when I'm more like in my art studio, or I can have more sessions with clients and things like that. So it ebbs and flows. Of course, I take breaks from things, and being a yoga teacher has influenced me in other ways. Like it's not always like I'm teaching yoga today, I'm farming tomorrow, I'm helping somebody with the baby, I'm doing art. Like this is over the span of years.
Yeah. So with all of that, with again, all the things that you do, all the work that you do, what are some things that you want to see happen, or some elements that you think will enhance the community that you may not necessarily have the time or the capacity to do in your own work?
Yeah. I think we need more education, specifically with children. I believe that a lot of this starts young, and the more we influence our children to be free and to see like, yeah, you can be an art farming weirdo lady, like like this is a career. I think just educating children, also just education in the community in general, and more expansion in our ecological education programming and community-based work in communities that are not always seeing this stuff. I think it takes a lot of education for people to feel comfortable like making a switch or understanding like, yes, like being ecological and being in touch with nature is in many of our cultures for many, many years and generations. But some people have gotten the idea that like only hippies recycle, or if you're dealing with the dirt or something like that, like a farmer, farming has also been associated with poverty for quite some time, and we still have to deal with that globally. But yeah, we need farmers, we need people who are tending to the earth for, either beauty reasons or food reasons, whatever the reason. Like we need more people invested in the soil and the planet and getting their hands into this work.
Yeah. So with that said, one thing that I have seen a lot more often, especially since we started the Homegrown series, is a lot of artists are in one way or another like invested in whether agriculture or just the environmental like movement, let's say. Why, like, yeah, let's just say that. So why do you think it is so many artists that like in some way again or another are invested or are starting to be more active within that agricultural or environmental space?
For me, it's just so many amazing reasons. I mean, like for one, there's like an entire like genre of art, which is ecological art, land art, earth-based art, which I was always like attracted to in art school. Like, whoa, this is like people are making projects with the earth, stacking things up, growing things in a particular pattern. That was just always really interesting to me. And I think that's a part of just our DNA as humans. If you look back at indigenous and ancient civilizations, people have been creating land art, you know, since we have been on this planet inhabiting it. So I think some of it is just like an innate part of us that wants to connect with where we live. And I also think the second part is a lot of artists want to reflect the times that they are living in, and people feel impacted by the state of the planet. And there's social practice art, which I view my practice as a part of. There's activist art, and this is a great topic to be active on.
Sure. So my last question is, how has the neighborhood responded to the AfroFutures Farm?
Overall, everything has been really positive. When we got the space, the grass was up to the fence. It's creeping, it creeps up. We maintenance it as much as we can. That grass is something, but it was extremely overgrown. You could not see through it. And, it was just like that for a while. And I think many people have been interested in that space and like have wanted to contribute to transforming that space. And everybody is like, hey, what are you all doing over there? Looks good, like you're doing a great job. So you can tell that it's a buzz and everyone is interested. And when we go by or check on it or work on it, the books are gone, people are taking the books, which is what we want. And, we always get like a thumbs up or how, I can come work for you. Do you want me to cut the grass? Like there's always somebody wanting to lend a hand or telling us we're doing a good job.
Good. I love to hear that. And hopefully I will stop by very soon. So with that being said, if there are any questions that our audience has, whether here on Zoom or on Facebook, you can leave them in the chat and then answer them real quick. We have a few minutes still, so we're in good time. Any questions from anybody? And while we wait for questions, could you remind us again, because this was a question I had, but you actually answered it. What are some ways that the community can support you? And it could be about the farm or it could be about any other work that you're doing. How can the community support you in your efforts?
Yeah, at the farm space, Dale and I have worked with volunteers. So from time to time, we will put out a call for volunteers. So the best way for that is to look on our social media page. In the past, we did a community cleanup a couple of times where we just picked up trash for hours. That's been a huge part of having a presence in the neighborhood, is keeping things clean and just keeping the space up. We need some things like cardboard. Like if you want to drop off cardboard, that would be great. That will help us cover up the space. Gardening tools, plant starts. Like if anybody has extras or can help us get some plants for our perimeter space that are already started, so we can just beautify the area a bit faster. That's always welcomed. And in terms of my practice, I have a couple of art-related projects that are wellness-based that are coming up in the community on the 24th. I am having a piece outside of the Contemporary Art Museum alongside, it's a collaboration with the PSA, which is a local arts collaborative, and they invited me and two other artists to create a piece for the side of the building. And this piece is an affirmation. So when it opens, I invite you all to come check it out and hopefully get like a meditative and insightful experience from that. It'll be up from June 24th to August 7th. And another project you can find more about on social media is I will be doing a mural outside of Terminal 2 at Lambert Airport. And I will be having some plant imagery and some great, my focus is on native plants and just things that are nature-based, native to Missouri, and some really interesting illustrations for the mural. So that's many months. It'll be finished in October, so you all can check that out and follow along and maybe come visit me down there when I'm on a lift. And I'm scared of heights and I need somebody to give me some tea or something.
So you actually answered the question that was put in the chat, and that was, will you show your visual art, but also with that, do you sell it? And if so, where can we buy your work?
So as you see, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I'm one of these artists that doesn't really make art that sells. I do more installation-based art and like community projects. So like for me, the farm work that Dale and I are doing, that's art. The studio, the yoga studio, this piece, the contemporary, the mural, like it is usually commission-based work that is large scale. But if you check out my visual arts portfolio, you can see a lot of my previous work and upcoming projects. I usually do a collaborative sound healing with another musician, Black Spade. And so we do those a couple of times a year and we invite folks to come out and just vibe out with us. Usually my work is more like experience-based.
Yeah, everybody sells their art.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I appreciate that. It's because not all art is meant to be consumed in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, an experience, like you said, like something that you go to either just witness or to feel or, again, experience it and leave that experience with you. You know what I'm saying? So we had another question also. Do you plan to have children's educational programs at the garden / work with schools or something similar? So I guess do you, plan on having educational programs that, of course it's a part of the garden, but also expands beyond the garden space?
Yes, that's definitely something that, Dale and I envision with this project is having a community component. So like within the space, like it is a farm, we are running our businesses out of that space, but we both have many ties in the community. So we want to have our business practices within that space, but we also want to create educational programming for young people or people who want to get, want to learn more about farming and how to grow things. So that's some programming, yes, that we do plan to, that, coming down the pipeline in the future. That would be definitely something that that's on our minds.
Cool. We have another question. Where are you at in the construction of your mobile wellness center?
It's a big project. You're absolutely right. So, I mean, it's a 1970s trailer. I've just been at the gut out stage. So, a lot of the pieces inside of it were actually I have like a really beautiful 1970s stove in there. So my thoughts were do I want to keep this to have tea ceremonies or something like that? But then I can also do a hot plate instead. So the process has been gutting it when I have some free time. And then I do plan to just build it out very simply. Just like if you go to a yoga or meditation studio, there's not much in the space. And maybe some benches, that kind of stuff. So it's at the gut stage right now. And then I need to move forward on building it out. So it's a step at a time project. It's a learning process as well. I bought the trailer at the end of 2019. Then we had a pandemic. So I thought I was going to be rocking and rolling, massaging people, doing yoga, whatever in this trailer, having some experiences. And then we realized we could not be in close quarters with people like that. So yeah, it's just been an evolving project, but my plan is to finish it by the end of the year and hopefully have some programming starting in 2022.
All right, cool. Then Elizabeth asked, and you actually answered this if I'm not mistaken, do or will you need volunteers at the farm?
Yes, eventually. And when we do have calls for that, we usually put it on social media. Right now, we're in a social media phase. We don't have a website for the farm space. But if and when we do call for volunteers, we always put it out ahead of time. And, you know, we'll ask for exactly what we need. Yeah, it's just been kind of like, we're in the getting everything together phase, making sure the soil is good, making sure we get everything that we need to really be successful with this project, and then, you know, keep it pushing from there.
Yeah. So if there aren't any more questions, we can go ahead and wrap it up. And thank you again, Simiya, for doing this. It's great to just learn. You know, I knew of all the stuff that you were doing, but like seeing it all in like spectrum is like, that's amazing. So thank you so much for doing this and for sharing your practices with everybody. And yeah, thank you. So any last comments, questions, anything that anybody has? Otherwise, we'll just end this. No? All right. So, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you. This is so beautiful to hear about everything you're doing and how it's connected. And I love hearing about art and like nature and earth. It sounds like that's a really strong coexistence for you. So I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for having me and listening and allowing me to share my practice with you and share with people. Like, art is not just always on the wall, and, you know, wellness goes so deep in so many different ways. And I do kind of view my whole thing as a wellness practitioner as art, really. So yeah.
And you know, hopefully in the near future, Earth Day 365 will do some work with you all at the farm, and you know, bring in a slew of volunteers, hopefully, to help in whatever capacity that y'all needed at that moment. And I'm actually very happy to hear about the soil because I knew that was like a big thing that came up out of nowhere for y'all, and I'm glad that you know has passed and everything's good.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, for those who may have not listened to the episode of We Live Here, definitely do it. It's really good. And I also agree that We Live Here is an amazing podcast, and you should probably check it out regardless, especially this season as they talk about a lot of environmental issues in our region. That first episode, definitely check it out. So thanks again, Simiya, and thanks again everybody that tuned in again on Zoom or Facebook. This will be up on the Facebook page, so you can check it out later in case you missed anything or just want to go back over it. And make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever floats your boat. And thank you all again for being here. Have a good night. I'll see y'all later.